gracious alive. Every day y'all get on this app and show that you worship a false God, not the God of the Bible. Every day y'all prove that you don't read scripture and you don't study to show yourselves approved, like 2 Timothy 2:15 commands you to. Instead, you follow man-made doctrine, man-made traditions, which Jeremiah 10:2 and Mark 7:7-8 also tell you not to do. As a survivor, I have endured multiple abusers in my personal life and these man-made systems, so I can actually speak pretty well on this subject y'all are struggling with. When a person passes away, or when your relationship ties with them are severed, so they're like spiritually dead, there's pressure to suddenly call them good or righteous. Isaiah 5:20 says, "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who turn darkness to light and light to darkness." If a man spent his life sowing lies, division, and hatred, we're not required to pretend otherwise. Calling evil good is a sin. A lot of you keep trying to justify, like, silencing people who are out here speaking the truth about him. You keep saying things like, but he was a family man. Oh, he was a man of God. Let's get one thing straight. That was not a man of God. A man who feels comfortable spewing hatred publicly carries that same spirit privately also. If he poured out poison on national television, you better believe he brought demonic oppression into his own home. Public hate always becomes private harm. And we see this clearly with someone like Trump. We all know he spews public hatred and ignorance. And we've seen how his words have emboldened other Europeans in America to display their racism openly, as if their behavior is now magically justified because he rattles it out publicly. But here's the thing though, Trump's private life eventually got exposed in the news. We've seen report after report come out about sexual assaults, hush money payments, shady business dealings, stolen documents, and outright corruption. That ain't Bible. The same man who fueled public hatred was also privately harming and exploiting people behind closed doors, right? That's how this always works. Public hate always matches private harm. And Charlie Kirk was no different. The only difference is that no one has combed through his private life yet the way that they did through Trump's, because Charlie wasn't the president. But if someone went digging, I can almost guarantee you they're going to find dirt, because the same spirit of hatred will always show up behind closed doors. If you feel bold enough to say it publicly, you know you got to be doing something privately. And then because patriarchy trains women to cover up men's sins, this was probably, his wife was probably conditioned to protect the abuse and protect a false reputation instead of exposing the truth. That's what patriarchy teaches women with abusers. Always protect a false image of the man, even if he's causing harm. And I emphasize false image because a lot of y'all get that part twisted. You think that you're protecting somebody's reputation. You're not protecting who they really are. You're protecting who they pretend to be. And that false image is what allows abuse to continue unchecked and unchallenged in our places of worship and in business, anywhere. The same thinking even shows up in co-parenting. Our culture constantly tells parents, don't speak bad of the other parent. But somewhere along the way, y'all started conflating speaking the truth with speaking ill. There's a huge difference between gossiping and simply reporting the facts. If a parent is abusive, neglectful, or absent, telling the truth about that behavior is not wrong. You're not speaking bad about them. You're just naming what actually happened. You remain loyal to the truth, not to a person. And the reality is, if someone behaves poorly, their actions write their own story. If they wanted people to speak well of them, they should have treated their family well. Silencing the truth does not protect the child. It protects the abuser. And it teaches the kids to hide harm instead of confronting it. Charlie's entire public image worked the exact same way, y'all. He relied on people to defend him and cover for him. That's why so many are like rushing to rewrite his legacy now that he's gone, calling evil good and pretending his actions weren't harmful. The Bible is clear though. We're never required to call evil good or hide the truth just to make somebody else feel comfortable. Every time a topic like this comes out publicly, I'm reminded though not surprised anymore, of how many abusers, sympathizers, and enablers there are out here among us. These are the same people who make excuses for wolves to stay among the sheep. And where do wolves go according to scripture? They go among the sheep. They go into churches. They hide in houses of worship, positions of leadership, charities, nonprofits. You'll always find them working around children, trying to look harmless and righteous, volunteering in church. They will attach themselves to philanthropy and ministry because they know it legitimizes them. It makes them credible. It's the Pied Piper strategy, the same way R. Kelly always surrounded himself with children to mask his abuse. Michael Jackson did it too. And it's not just them. Think about Bill Cosby, Kevin Samuels, P. Diddy, that health insurance CEO, and now Charlie Kirk. When y'all rush to defend men like this, you're really protecting wolves in sheep's clothing. And worse, y'all are the ones giving them the sheep costume that allows them to blend in with us, the real sheep. You are the enablers. Every excuse, every justification, every "but he's a good man, Savannah" statement, every "but he did good things for the community," all of it arms them with cover so that they can keep harming others in silence. And let's talk about this wife and kids cover up. Let's get into that, because it's one of the oldest tricks in the book. And in fact, society is built on this one trick. A lot of these men only get married and have children as a bribe. They're not building families out of love or covenant, according to scripture. They see women and children as possessions, the English laws of coverture. They see us as objects, as props in their grand scheme to gain followers, credibility, and power. Their wife and kids are nothing more than a bribe to the world, an offering to get y'all to accept them in your churches and businesses, to overlook the wolf that they really are. Pastors do it, public figures, politicians especially do it. They know you've been conditioned to see a man with a family and automatically think, "Oh, he must be a good man." They use that false image to hide the evil. But Deuteronomy 16:19 warns us plainly, do not pervert justice or show partiality. Do not accept a bribe, or a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and twists the words of the innocent. That's exactly what's happening here. Their family becomes the bribe, and y'all fall for it. Every time. Every time. Hook, line, and sinker. You let that image blind you to their true nature. And when you defend them, you're helping to twist the truth and pervert the course of justice. Y'all calls that an abomination. Charlie may not have been directly in a pulpit, but don't get it twisted. He was definitely a false teacher. He claimed to be standing on scripture while spewing hate and false doctrine. This is exactly what the Bible warns us about, against all up and through there. False teachers, false apostles, false Christ. So many warnings, and y'all don't prioritize and pay attention. The word says they will masquerade as angels of light, but inside they're full of dead bones, dead men's bones. They just out here spreading destruction while trying to appear holy. If you really studied your scripture, you'd be able to discern men like this. But y'all don't read, or you don't comprehend what you're reading. And so you blindly follow a man instead of checking the book to see what it says and if what he's teaching lines up with what y'all's word actually says. I went on and scrolled over to Charlie's post myself. Child, I ain't even have to go that far to tell you. He ain't rightly divided not a single lick of scripture. None of it. He spent entirely too much time, for one thing, shaming single women, hyper focused on ridiculing them and getting survey data on single women, while completely ignoring any data on single men. But even if he did, the Bible clearly says it's honorable to be single, so you can focus on the work of Yahuwah. Ain't nothing wrong with being single. At the end of the day, Charlie Kirk was not, he was just another red pill podcast goon. The only difference is he wore a suit and had white skin and was given a nationally syndicated platform to spew the same trash as these red pillars. That man didn't spew anything biblical. He took one small concept y'all know from scripture, marriage, and he twisted that one concept into the English laws of coverture, the very foundation of white male supremacy. And y'all fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. I swear y'all fall for it every time, because you don't read your word. He was not talking about covenant, not at all. He was talking about, he was lifting up his own image, patriarchy, not Yah's design for marriage or ministry or community. He was obsessed with possession of women, not the real concept of marriage according to scripture. He was concerned with male power and female subjugation, period. And here's the sad part. Many of you are exposing yourselves right now by defending him. You don't actually worship the God of the Bible. I keep saying y'all worship the God of patriarchy. You don't realize you've been in a spirit of error for so long. You can't even tell the truth from a lie anymore. Y'all are deaf, blind, dumb, and it's done made you numb. You're numb when somebody like Charlie comes out here spewing poison and false doctrine. You cheer instead of rebuking him. You flatten every issue, oversimplify the harm, and pretend you don't hear the nuance, or maybe you really are that blind and tone deaf. But 1 Corinthians 13 says you don't rejoice with injustice, you rejoice in truth. Y'all just keep showing that your inability to discern exposes that you're not following Yah's word at all. When Charlie used scripture as a cover for his hatred, he was doing what false teachers have always done. Just mixing man-made doctrines with the word so that people can't tell the difference. It is literally like cyanide in water. A small amount of poison blended into something that seems pure is still going to destroy you if you drink it. It's the oldest trick in the book, y'all. Come on. Golly, get a clue. It's the oldest trick in the book. And because so many of you don't actually study, you can't tell when a man is quoting scripture versus when he's just quoting colonizer laws and patriarchy, English laws of coverture. You don't check the word for yourselves. You just take this old man and that man's word and spread it like it's gospel. This is why wolves thrive. This is why they stay safe in your houses of worship, in our schools, in charities, because they know exactly how to play the game while you just sit there and protect them. The Bible is also very clear that whatever you plant, you will harvest. Galatians 6:7 says, do not be deceived. Elohim is not mocked. Whatever a man sows, he will also reap in return. This man's platform fed racism and violence. A white man shot another white man. And do you know, HBCUs are now on lockdown because white people, Europeans, and abuser sympathizers have gotten beside themselves with delusion and have been conditioned to go blame black folks for everything. We ain't got nothing to do with it, but we got to be on lockdown because y'all threatening us. That is the fruit of that man's work. I've seen this same law play out in my own life, as a matter of fact. I'm now on year 8. Me and my kids are on year 8 of one man wreaking injustice. 8 years of post-separation abuse and child and mother sabotage. If you've never heard those phrases, Google it for clarity. But this Negro really tried to destroy me simply because I had enough sense to leave him for his abuse and neglect of me and my children. And the very job that he used to separate me from my children fell apart in 4 months. 4 months. And to this day, he's still reaping what he sowed, just like Proverbs 22:8 says. He who sows injustice will reap disaster, and the rod of his fury will be destroyed. That's Bible. And I don't feel no ways guilty about his downfall. He planted those seeds, not me. And he's not the only one. Let me not single him out, because the person who sexually assaulted me ended up homeless and losing his mind. And let's just say my parents have not prospered after what all they've done to me. Their lives are a reflection of what they planted as well. I've watched God's justice move consistently. When people sow destruction, they reap it back into their own lives every time. The word also shows how the wicked set traps for others, but end up caught in their own. Psalm 7:15 says he has dug a hole and hollowed it out. He's fallen into a pit of his own making. That's the word. And Proverbs 26:27 says, he who digs a pit will fall into it. It's a reggae song. And he who rolls a stone will have it rolled back on him. This is biblical and spiritual law at work. When you scheme against others, you end up snared by your own plans. Psalms 9:15-16 says the nations, this ain't even individual, the nations have fallen into a pit of their making. Their foot is caught in the net they have hidden. Yahuwah is known by the justice he brings. The wicked are ensnared by the work of their hands. And then, hold on, Sirach 7:3, that's Ecclesiasticus. Do not plow the ground to sow seeds of injustice. You might reap a bigger harvest than you expect. So when you see the fallout from this man's life, don't confuse it with random bad luck. This is y'all's justice on full display. Y'all just ain't paying attention. Sometimes y'all will even use these moments to bring relief to those who've been oppressed. Think about Pharaoh and the Egyptians. While they were busy chasing our people, y'all brought them to their own destruction in the Red Sea. And the plagues before that, we didn't rejoice at death itself. We rejoiced in our freedom. We praise Yah for shutting up their oppressive rule. The same thing happened with Nebuchadnezzar when he tried to force the 3 Hebrew boys to bow to the golden calf. They stood firm and Yah delivered them while their oppressor fell. And David himself spoke of this relief in Psalms 54:7. For he has delivered me from every trouble, and my eyes have looked in triumph on my foes' enemies. David didn't need revenge. He trusted Yah to bring justice. And when Yah did, David could look upon his enemies with triumph. Some translations say, look upon my enemy with a smile, because he knew the Most High had dealt with them. That's exactly how I look upon my enemies, honey. So don't confuse relief with celebration of death. Sometimes it's not about rejoicing that a person is gone. It's about the peace of knowing there's one less voice of oppression being platformed and paid to spread that mess. Now, here's where the balance comes in. Proverbs 24:17-18 does say, don't gloat when the enemy falls, and don't let your heart rejoice when they stumble, or Yahuwah will see and be displeased and turn his wrath away from him. We don't want that. We want all the wrath. We want him to get all the wrath. So I'm not saying to fake grief. It just means don't let your hatred turn to bitterness. You can speak the truth. You can see justice without getting revenge. Their consequences are between them and Yah, not us and them. So no, you ain't got to mourn somebody who never mourned for you or the people that they harmed. You ain't got to call evil good, and you definitely ain't got to feel guilty when a person's end matches the life they lived. Let me run them scriptures back right quick for y'all to go study, because clearly you need to. Isaiah 5:20, Galatians 6:7, Proverbs 22:8, Psalm 9 verse 15-16, Proverbs 26:27, Psalm 7:15, Sirach or Ecclesiasticus, that's in the Apocrypha, 7:3, Psalms 54:7, Proverbs 24:17-18, Deuteronomy 16:19. A few more. There's some that talk about how Yahuwah hates unequal weights and measures or unjust practices. Proverbs 20:23. Also look up Isaiah 5:23. Woe to those who acquit the guilty for a bribe and deny justice to the innocent. One of my favorites. The reason this is so important for y'all to grasp is because your current line of distorted stankin' thinking, rooted in false teachings, causes you to pervert the course of justice. You end up ostracizing, alienating, and re-traumatizing the actual survivors of injustice, abuse, and trauma because you're too busy protecting the abusers, false teachers, and false prophets. Yah's word repeatedly warns against this. When you defend the wicked and silence the voices of the oppressed, you are walking in direct opposition to the Most High God of the Bible. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob calls that behavior an abomination to him. So it's vital that you rightly divide this concept in scripture so you can stop enabling evil and start doing righteously by the victims, the poor, the dispossessed, the widow, the orphaned, exactly as Yah commands. Look at Proverbs 31 verses 8-9. Look up verses 1 through 9, but specifically in that passage right before, as King Lemuel's mama is advising him on a Proverbs 31 woman, before she tells him what kind of wife to look for, she tells him what kind of man he needs to be. Since y'all like to cherry pick and skip all the scriptures that apply to fellas, let me help you out. Go look up Proverbs 31 verses 1 to 9, where you're not supposed to be whoremongering and giving over to strong drink, and where you ain't this country's profits, a lot of y'all's wealth that you sitting on, these white folks are sitting on, is based on strong drink and alcoholism. This country is literally built on everything opposite of Yah's word. Absolutely everything, from the slavery to the alcohol industry, chattel slavery, turning our children into alligator bait. This country ain't built on a goddamn thing in scripture, and y'all need to cut it out talking about the Christian nation, that one nation under God. You's a lie, and the truth ain't in you. Y'all know you're lying. Well, maybe you don't know, because all y'all been doing is following some white man's religion all this daggone time, instead of getting in them scriptures yourself, studying to show yourself approved. Anyway, y'all need to look up all the scriptures about what it really says about justice and looking after the widow, the orphan, the poor, the dispossessed. He said, the King Lemuel's mama over there in Proverbs 31 said, speak up for the lame and the dispossessed, those who can't speak up for themselves. And y'all be out here ostracizing and alienating and re-traumatizing them all the time, and got nerve to sit up here when we was in COVID and the pandemic and stuff, talk about if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and pray. Where's the humility? Y'all be skipping that part. You skip that step every freaking time. You skip it every time. Y'all be missing it. If my people who are called by, ain't nothing in this country called by his name. This country ain't running on the Most High. Y'all are running on patriarchy. I'm gonna stop talking, because y'all get on my nerves with that false teaching. I've made my points clear. Shalom.